I'm your host, Lydia, and today we have a very special guest joining us, author Nelda Villes. Did I say that right?
Villines.
Villines. Okay, cool.
Villines.
Talk about her book, From Oklahoma to Africa, My Journey. This memoir shares her experiences, adventures, and incredible path that led her from Oklahoma to Africa and lessons she learned along the way. Nelda, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to hear about your story.
Thank you, Lydia. Nice to meet you. And yes, I have written my memoir, From Oklahoma to Africa. It talks about my journey from a small town in Seminole County, Oklahoma, to be a diplomat in Africa. I was actually a diplomat for 31 years overseas, 27 years on the continent of Africa. And it it's a unique story because not everyone, or I don't really know anyone else from Oklahoma that has done that. So people kept telling me, you need to write a book of all your adventures. So I finally decided that's what I would do.
Oh, that is so cool. Tell us a little about yourself and what inspired you to write Oklahoma to Africa. You said that people wanted to hear your stories, so I take it you have like a lot of experiences while you were on that journey.
Growing up in Oklahoma, I had never heard the words diplomat or embassy. I didn't know what they were or anything. And then from Oklahoma, I moved to Phoenix, and I saw an ad in a magazine for foreign service secretaries needed to work overseas. All you had to do to qualify was a U.S. citizen, typing, and shorthand. I qualified because I could do those things, and that was in 1989.
Wow.
And so, of course, now nobody or not many people know what shorthand even is. And of course, it's obsolete now. But in those days, we did use it. After interviewing in LA, it's just interviewing for an Oklahoma girl to go to LA and use a taxi from the airport was an adventure in
Oh my
itself.
gosh.
So that I talk about in the book. And then eventually I get to Washington, D.C. for training. And then my first embassy overseas was Helsinki, Finland. And I never
Wow.
had a passport before. The first passport I got was a diplomatic passport. So
Wow. So I
that's a
take it
whole nother
different
that's a
type
whole
of
nother
process.
story.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have a normal passport, it's blue and it's a tourist passport. But with a
Oh.
diplomatic passport, it's black and you get to go in the airports where the crew goes.
Uh-huh.
It says crew and diplomats, and that's where you get to go to bypass all that long
Oh my
line.
gosh.
So
Man,
it's a big asset to have that.
that is already just a crazy experience. Like to think and
Yes.
today you don't get to just sit in the newspaper to look for
No.
jobs.
Yeah.
You have to fight tooth and nail for them. That's
Yeah. In
so
those
insane.
days, it was there was a shortage of secretaries, and I was a secretary in Phoenix. I went to a VOTEC school, to learn how to be a secretary, and so that just the VOTEC experience got me the job
That is
to work
so
for the
cool.
government, which I never even dreamed or thought that was anywhere possible for me coming from this small little place, in the middle of nowhere.
All
Yeah.
this stemming just from a newspaper is just incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
So then, of course, once I got overseas, there were many, many adventures and, embarrassing things and exciting things. And, I met President Bush and Barbara Bush
what? Oh my
in Helsinki because that was during the Cold War. So it was still the Soviet Union. And then it changed to Russia after that. But in those days, it was still Soviet Union. So I had a small encounter with a Soviet gentleman trying to recruit me because I was young. I was only 29, and they were looking for assets, and that was an experience. So
wow.
there's a
Yeah.
lot, and I always kept a journal since I was 12 years old in Oklahoma. I kept a
Uh-huh.
journal diary, and I've continued that until today. So this book is written from all my journal entries of my whole life, basically.
That is
And
so cool.
so I was able to go back. I'm very organized, so I have a timeline of each place I went and the date. So I was able to go back and get that and then pull out interesting stories and expand on them to make the book.
Well, what would you say is your most favorite part of your book? What was your favorite story to write?
Work wise, there were some encounters with the local government that were unique. The food, the cultures. I don't really have a specific story, maybe, except I was able to go see gorillas, mountain gorillas in Uganda. Hike up it was over a 5 hour hike in the jungle, rainforest, and they used a machete to chop the path. There was no
Oh my
path.
gosh.
And so finally we saw the troop of gorillas, and we had 1 hour to take photos of them.
And so these
So,
are wild gorillas, like not your
yeah,
zoo gorillas, but like
no.
wow.
They were used to people because they did
Uh,
have tours, about 3 tours a day, for 4 days a week. But the silverback was there with the females and the youngsters and babies. It was the whole family. So that was one of my truly unique and special experiences, I must say, with wildlife. Um, and that's also, of course, I talked about it in the book. And I'm a photographer, so I have several photo books on
do
African wildlife and people.
do you have any of those photos in your book as well?
Yes, I do. I
Okay.
have 55 photos in the book. I had like 100, but
Yeah,
it made me
yeah.
cut them down.
Oh no.
So one here is the lions. I mean lions. I'm sorry, tigers. That's also in Africa. Tigers are not normally in Africa,
Uh-huh.
but a guy. They're in India. They're being killed rapidly. So a South African guy brought over tigers, and South Africans breeding them to keep them alive.
Oh, that is so cool.
And then lions. I saw many lions in Africa, different countries in Africa, and that is a white line, which is a special gene from lions, which is unique to see. So I saw that
That is
also.
so cool. I bet you have so many things like to share. I'd love to just be part of your family, to sit there and listen to
Yeah,
stories all the time. Like my grandma's from Panama, and like she's got some wild stories from there, but nothing like about travel or working, like anything
yeah,
like that. Now, how would you say traveling change your perspective on life? It sounds like you traveled like a lot.
yes. I visited 80 countries in total, and of course, most of those were from work. Uh, Africa is a continent and it has 54 countries. So I lived and worked in 27 of those countries just in Africa.
Wow.
And then I did several countries in Europe. I was also in Costa Rica. So I went to Panama and I went to other countries in Central America.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
yeah, I always wanted to travel, but I didn't have any money. So I was fortunate that God gave me this job with the State Department, and that was my job to travel.
Well,
So I was
I'm
very,
gonna assume that any listeners here are taking notes because government job equates to travel.
well, not always, but I
Yeah.
mean, it does usually in the States, but this one was for the Foreign Service, which is a special branch of the
Oh, that's
Department
so
of
cool.
State.
There you go, there
And
you go.
yes, I know not everyone has money to travel. I understand
Mhm.
that very well. But even if you just go to California or Kansas or Arizona, you see a different culture, a different type of people than just staying in Oklahoma all the time. And certainly if you go to another country, then it's a whole new experience. But I believe travel is education.
Mhm.
You learn so much about yourself as well as other people, how to handle stress and you know funny situations and can be dangerous situations sometimes. But um, education is really travel is really education for me because you learn about the world, geography, and the different type of people, and everybody's different. You're unique, and it's okay to be unique.
Mhm.
So.
And did in your travels, did you make a lot of friends along the way, like, in all the different areas that you've been?
Yes, a lot. I still have several friends from Africa, of course, that I stay in touch with because half my life I lived in Africa. So
Yeah.
I'm very used to being the only white person in the room.
Oh,
which is also a unique thing, because in America, certainly in Oklahoma, usually a black person is the only black person in the room.
mm.
So it was a revert. I learned a lot just from that. How does that feel? And that was a big education, for me because I'd never been in that position before. And my husband is African. He's from Ghana in West Africa. So I still go back to visit. We have a house there, so we go back and forth between Oklahoma and Ghana.
That is so cool. What was the hardest part about writing your story and sharing it with readers?
I had decided a few years ago that I wanted to write a book because uh, besides the unique stories from Africa, of course, I also have unique stories from Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Uh, and that was those stories about my father, grandfather. My grandfather was a deputy sheriff in the boom days in the 1920s and 30s, when Seminole County was the boom town. So he had a lot of experience there with outlaws and those kind of things. And those stories I told to people in the embassy from the East Coast that still thought Oklahoma was the Wild West. So
Oh,
it's not just my African stories, it's the Oklahoma stories that kind of combined. And then, of course, people in Oklahoma and America like the African stories because
yeah.
that's unique to them. So it was kind of a little of both worlds. And uh, people kept telling me it's a unique story, you need to write it. And I had all my journals. So after I retired a few years ago, I just focused on reading my journals and writing the book.
How long did it take you to write your book?
Well, I started years ago in Africa, actually, kind of the
Oh,
layout, the chapters, because a chapter is each country I have been to is a chapter, and then it when I really buckled down, I would say probably about 18 months to
oh
really
wow.
from really like okay, I'm going to do this, and then to the publishing and the printing. Yeah.
Okay. What was the hardest part about writing it?
Of course, both my parents have died, and so I went back through those emotional times. And I was married before, so through the divorce, um, and narcissistic husband, my first husband, I didn't know what that word was years ago, and that's like a big word now.
Yeah.
Um, so I talk about that also in the book, how that experience and what I went through and overcame that. So I know a lot of women are in that situation and have been through that situation. So I hope part of my journey is that, and that it will help them get out
Oh,
of
that
that
answered my next
situation if they're
question.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My next question was gonna be what you would hope readers take away from that book, but I think you just answered it. Like, not being
yeah,
afraid to step out of small town mindset and really get out there and travel.
yeah.
And
We're all, even in Africa, they grow up in a village and it's just their little village, like it's our little town here. I
mhm.
think anybody, whether you're in Africa, Europe, or America, you need to get out and see a different part, and that will open your mind and show you that um, there's many different types of people and religions and this the whole. I lived in a Muslim country. I lived in Sudan for 2 years, so I learned the call to prayer and the whole customs in the Muslim world, which completely different for me coming from Oklahoma, but um, I think it's good to learn all those things. It's okay for people to have different beliefs and outlooks. We're just not all the same, you know.
I love that. I
Yeah,
absolutely love that. Yeah, acceptance, but also taking that journey and just making it precious instead of worrying so much about what's going on, but learning the culture and accepting the culture all around. That is a really beautiful,
yeah.
takeaway.
And I know not I was able to do that because of my job. Not
Yeah.
everybody can do that, but still, I think everybody can get out of their little community and go see something different and just again, it will change you. It will open your mind to more possibilities and to people.
Well, my husband's active duty army, and one of his jobs have always been moving around and everything. I grew up in Texas. We moved to Arizona. Then we from Arizona, I moved back to Texas while he got in the army, and then we moved
Mm.
to New York, Alaska, and now we're here. And unfortunately, we're not one of those military couples that have been able to go outside of that. We did have a chance to go to Japan once upon a time, which,
Oh,
the
uh-huh.
dream.
Right.
But we also have a 7-year-old who has Down syndrome, which kind of limits our locations now.
Oh, right.
But
Mm-hmm.
even still, I think learning about other cultures and taking these stories and just kind of putting myself in those positions is just a beautiful thing, regardless of if I can travel or not.
Yes,
Especially since
that's
I
true.
still have
Mm-hmm.
family in Panama. I talk to them,
Of
and one of my
course.
dreams is to go
Yeah.
there someday. But still, that culture's in it. I've
It's in
grown
you.
up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in me. Yeah. So I think that's a
Yeah.
really cool takeaway. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. The military, I worked with a lot of military, of course, in the embassies overseas of different, all the branches of the military were there. And so, those people, men and women, had a whole different experience than I had as far
Hmm.
as military. But um, they, most of them came from a little town in whatever state, and then they expanded to learn other cultures and meet people that were different from them. So um, it's kind of similar to that career, but not the same.
All
Yeah.
right. And if someone were to come to you and be like, Nelda, I want to travel outside of the United States, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say, to start in Europe because that's easier adjustment wise. I mean, my first trip was to Europe. It was still a big adjustment, but if, of course, many people want to do safari. So, of course, that's Africa to do safari.
Hmm.
South Africa, I think, is the easiest country to go to in Africa because it's modern. It's very
Okay.
modern compared to other countries. Um, Also, South America, if you speak Spanish, you can learn to speak Spanish. Um, that also expands you to another culture, another world if you learn a foreign language. And you can do that in Oklahoma. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have
Yeah.
to go overseas to do that. Of course, then perhaps learn the language somewhat, and then go to that country and, if you can, and learn more. Or
Did you learn many
the language.
languages?
I learned Spanish, and then I learned French a little because I was in West Africa, which is French colonies.
Oh,
The
wow.
local language, the African tribes are similar to the Native American tribes.
Hmm.
There's different local languages. Each 54 country has its own numerous languages in one country of the tribals. So I speak probably about 13, 14 local languages, just the basic hello, how are you, thank you. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
wherever I was, I tried to learn just those basic, sayings where I could at least say hello uh, to the local people.
I
Yeah.
had a friend once that she kind of was a big traveler, and what she said was to learn hello, goodbye, and where's the nearest restroom.
No, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true, I guess. But yeah, because with the embassy, when there's Americans at the embassy, of course, but there's also a lot of local staff. So you work with the local staff every day, and of course they all speak English to have the job in the embassy. But I thought and most diplomats that work there learned some of the local language or were fluent in it. Some people, um, to communicate with the local people in their language and not just our language. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Nelda, I believe that's all the questions I have for you today. But my understanding is like the reason why we're doing podcasts today is because I actually have you visiting in person um next weekend,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Yep. The 20th
On
here at
Saturday. Mm-hmm.
yep. Yep. And I have you down for 1 o'clock. Is that right?
Right, that's right.
Yep. Okay,
One
so
o'clock.
1 o'clock next Saturday at Amethyst Ink Bookstore, 1814 West Gore Boulevard. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your story and spending time with us today. It's been wonderful learning from you and about your journey and experiences of your book. Honestly, like just getting a chance to kind of speak to authors is such a like one of my most favorite parts of being a bookstore owner because I get to learn about the different stories.
Right.
And
Mhm.
to everyone listening, be sure to check us out, From Oklahoma to Africa. It will be in store, even after you were done with your visit next weekend, but I really encourage everyone to come. Nelda, it's an absolute honor talking to you. It sounds like
Thank
I mean,
you.
I just wanna sit down and listen to all your stories from your book, but, obviously the point is to get people to buy your book.
Definitely.
But if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to Moonlit Pages and follow Amethyst Ink Books, for future author interviews, book discussions, and literary adventures. And until next time, readers, keep exploring. Remember that every journal begins with a single page.
It's nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nelda. We'll see you on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.